the Google Ads UI can act as a reference for you to design your own product interface. Your workflow should be built to serve the needs of your customers with the data you have to guide this process. Google aims to demonstrate the features of PMax we see that will provide the most value to advertisers as they embark on their journey. At the end of the day, you understand your customers best and which features they can best utilize. When you request guidance on what you need to build, that is where the recommendations, hints and tips come in. Secondly, let's talk briefly about the order in which campaigns are constructed in the UI compared to the API. Based on where some aspects of the product are configured in the API, you may need to construct the campaign in a slightly different order to the workflow that I've just shown you. So let me give you an example. Campaign targeting settings such as location and language are configured as campaign criteria. In the API, the campaign ID is taken as an argument for creating the campaign criteria, and hence campaign creation needs to be done first. Luckily, you can use temporary identifiers to indicate a campaign that is not yet created, especially if you are creating the campaign as part of a batch operation. The main thing I want you to take away is when using the Ads UI as a reference, you may be aware that the sequencing is not the same as the order in which they are executed in the API. Hopefully this diagram will help you understand where the order is different. In some cases, there will be functionality in the Google Ads UI that is in beta and not available in the Google Ads API at the current time. Google is constantly innovating in this space, and once we have the signals that these features are universally helpful, we will typically invest in providing them in other services, including the Google Ads API. We look forward to launching more of these features in the near future, so keep an eye out on upcoming API releases, announcements, and from various channels. Now, let's dig deeper into the features mentioned in this workflow and the implications for API development. Performance Max offers two main bidding strategies: maximize conversion and maximize conversion value. Both have the ability to specify a target. For maximize conversions, the target is cost per action, or CPA. For maximize conversion value, the target is return on ad spend, or ROAS. You can see the decision here is already much simpler than for options available with other campaign types, and it fits in naturally with aligning with the business goals. The next concept is assets. PMax uses the concept of assets to create personalized ads. These assets can include images, videos, or text such as headlines and descriptions. Conceptually, a good way to think of these is instead of having to prepare thousands of variants of ad creatives, Google AI selects from a combination of assets that you have provided and matches them with a user at serving time with the goal of providing you the most relevant ad for your product or business. We also demonstrated the ability to use generated assets in your campaigns. In this high-level example, you can see we have to construct a text asset, in this case, book travel. Next, we will need to make sure we have created the asset group first. Finally, we create an asset group asset to link the title to the asset group, such as headline. If you want to drive online local sales of your product from a Merchant Center account, then you will need to understand how listener group filters allow you to select which groups of products to advertise. You can think of this as a tree-like data structure where each node represents a property of the products that you would like to include or exclude. For example, you can use filters to group associated products, such as product category, product condition, or brand, the purpose of which is for bidding and reporting. The bidding is handled automatically by Google AI, but you can access the asset group to see how these different product groups are performing. Listener groups also work with final URL expansion, so make sure you check out that feature. Page feeds allow you to specify which URLs to use in ads for your Performance Max campaign. When you provide a page feed for your landing pages, it helps Google Ads check that all relevant pages are indexed and determine when to show your ads and where to direct people to on your website. Note that you may need to make sure that text assets with final URL is turned on to enable this feature in PMax. Enabling final URL in your Performance Max campaign allows your campaign to replace your final URL with a more relevant landing page from the final URL domain based on the user's search intent. You still have control to specify which URLs in your domain that you want to exclude from being served, such as administrator pages. This feature is enabled by default, but you can use the API to disable it as required. Brand settings allow you to only serve traffic for specific brand queries for search and shopping surfaces in PMax campaigns. You can configure these settings to make sure that ads don't serve for specific brands that you specify. You might choose to do this to avoid a specific competitor, or if you're deliberately targeting your own brand in another campaign. Search themes are words and phrases your customers use to find your offerings to help Performance Max campaigns reach the right audience. You can think of these as signals you are providing to Google's AI to help expand user reach. It's worth noting that negative keywords on the account still apply, and that on search networks they will have the same priority as phrase match and broad match keywords. Those are just a few of the important PMax concepts. Hopefully now you will have some good understanding of some of the functionality you can enable in Performance Max.